Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Benefits of Nailing Your Niche. I am Tanya Kubo, and I am so excited to have my guest with me today, Wendy Lully. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you so much. This is so fun.
I'm so glad. This is going to be a lot of fun. So I'd like to welcome the replay viewers because it takes a while for the live viewers to come on, but the replay viewers are right there at the beginning and they're like, "Do you care about me?" So we
Oh,
always make sure to welcome our replay viewers. And we are going to be talking about the benefits of nailing your niche. And I want to start off with by kind of just explaining what a niche is. And then I'm going to explain why we have Wendy Lully here to talk to us about that. So, the reason that we're going to talk about nailing your niche is because this is something that I think really causes a lot of frustration for authors and speakers, but really anybody who's trying to build relationships in online spaces. Because when you're trying to talk to everyone, things get very overwhelming. Do I share this post? Do I not share this post? Like, who might I offend? And there's all of this stuff and this concern that goes into what to put out there when you're not exactly sure who it is you're putting it out for. So that's why I think that figuring out who your niche is, who you're there to serve, is so important for anybody before they start anything else. I mean, even before you start a website. And the reason that I invited Wendy Lou here, and do you like Wendy or Wendy Lou? I should ask that question.
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I met Wendy at a conference and we did a social media consult together. And I'm never, ever, probably as long as I live, going to forget how you sat down and you said, "So my niche is a little different than you're probably used to." And I was like, how different can it be? And you were like, "Well, my niche are Little House on the Prairie fans." And I remember thinking, that's interesting. And so then, of course, you shared that you played Baby Grace on the show and that you are so connected. And I mean, we just spoke for 15 minutes, but the passion and the love you have for your audience was undeniable. And what I will definitely never forget is when I asked, like, do you want to expand out of this niche? Because when I meet somebody who has a very narrow niche, frequently they're trying to talk to me about, like, how do I get bigger? How do I expand? And you were like, no, like, they're really good to me and I really care for them. And I was like, it was such a beautiful thing. So, could you expand on that just a little bit for us?
Well, here's the my niche is really big, but I haven't explored all of them yet. I haven't connected to all of them. So I do want it to be bigger in the sense that I want to connect to more Little House fans.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't need it to be bigger. And I think if I make it something else, then I can't serve them. So I have to I have to focus on what Little House fans love and do that really well and serve them. And I'm just going to get more and more, my niche is going to get bigger because I'm going to find more Little House fans. So that's really what I'm trying to do.
Okay, great. And I like how you talked about how the fact that your niche is so specific doesn't actually limit your growth. And we've brainstormed this together, right? Because you've got Little House fans who watched it when it was live, and then you have Little House fans who caught it on syndication. Maybe they watched it when after school or on weekends, like whenever they saw it on television. And then you have this whole other generation, right? They're kids who maybe they introduced them to Little House as like an early TV show in their childhood because it had safe, family friendly content. And then and so it grows. And one of the words that they use in marketing, one of the terms they use in marketing is zoom and pan, right? So like you've zoomed in on Little House on the Prairie fans, but there are so many different directions you can take that.
Yeah.
So it's not really as limiting as it sounds to the untrained person, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that when you know your niche and you know what they value and you know what they engage in, then you can serve them well. Um, Someone who maybe is a runner, they can serve runners. If you are a cook, you know what those people want. So you have to find what that is. And then the audience is as big as you can dream. I mean, but I think the more specific you are, the better it is because you know how to speak to them. You know how to engage with them. Where I can't speak to cooks, although I did do a Facebook Live teaching my little house fans how to make cranberry tea one time on a Facebook Live, and they
How
loved
fun.
it. We can go out a little bit, but not
Mhm.
totally think. You know what I'm saying? So I just
Right.
think when you know how you know most what they
Mhm.
love. Because if you love it, then you know what you love. So, I mean, I know that my tribe, they want to talk about Little House all the time. And I think that they would get sick of talking about Little House. They don't. They want to ask, what is your favorite memory every single day? They want to know who is your favorite character? Who what was Michael Landon like? They want to talk about it over and over and over and over again. So I can't it doesn't get old for them. Now another person would be like, I've heard this. I'm over it. But because my tribe does not get sick of it, I have to make sure that I give them what they want.
Okay, so I
That's my
love
goal.
that, right? Because ultimately, I mean, granted, we become authors and we become speakers because we feel like we're given a gift and we want to, make use of that gift. But we're ultimately given that gift to serve a population.
Yes.
And if what we're doing isn't serving anybody, then we're doing something wrong. And one of the things that I think that we kind of overlook with nailing your niche is how it can simplify things. I mean, it's easy to get overwhelmed, and nailing your niche is a way to ease that overwhelm. I think it works in three different areas. I think it helps you invest your energy in the right places. I think it allows you, it gives you the freedom to take a strong stance. And I think it helps to ease the sting of criticism.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to unpack those with you, and I'd like to start with investing your energy in the right places. So for
Yeah.
me, when I'm thinking of a niche, right, it's like, and especially with a niche like yours, I mean, it's just really easy to know exactly what you're not going to post,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, you are not going to post your latest musings of This Is Us. Doesn't
No.
fit the audience, right? Like, I mean, maybe they watch it, maybe they don't, but that's not what you're there to do. How else do you think it simplifies things for you in terms of, let's say specifically with social media?
Well, when I'm trying to figure out what to post, I think of what they want. I see what they're posting, I see what they're liking. And I mean, at the beginning, it's totally a trial and error thing,
Right.
you know? Um, I decide like I should post a real picture from the set as often as possible, but I only have so many. So I try to do that every once in a while,
Mhm.
share links. The other day I shared a link somebody sent me. It was a like Christmas presents from Little House on the Prairie fans, and it was the coolest things. These like gloves that had words that Laura Ingalls Wilder wrote like in the fabric,
Wow.
these scarves, and I'd never seen it before. So I said, "Hey, I'm your Christmas elf today. If you have a little house band, this is what you should get them." And it was like, how brilliant is that? So it has to be a house for me. Anything.
Mhm.
If I'm gonna share something or post something, it needs to be a little house because if it's not going to get any response. There's going to be zero engagement.
Mhm.
So for me, I try to vary my posts in everything that's Little House. So if it's a share one day, if it's a post a picture another day, if it's share an event another day, if it's a live video another day. So it simplifies it because I don't have to think, well, what in the heck should I post? It's like
Mhm.
this is easy. And honestly, sometimes it's like, well, let's scroll through Instagram and find a really cool picture. And then I have a story to go with the picture. Boom, it's so simple. So simple. I sometimes I'm like, I have no excuse not to post.
Well, and
I
I
just have
like
to.
Right. Well, and I like your passion for your audience, but also, it's not hard because your topic is already decided for you. It's just a matter of what facet of the topic am I going to share? Am I going to talk about gifts for Little House fans? Am I going to talk about a memory from the show? Am I going to show a past cast photo? Am I going to show a current cast photo?
Right.
You get to actually focus on your mix of content because your topics are already
Mhm.
decided for you. I think that's huge. And because I think a lot of us spend a majority of our time trying to figure out our topics, our categories. And you've got that nailed, and all you have to do is go, okay, well, is it option A, B, or C today? Easy.
Mhm.
So the other thing that I really like about having a really targeted audience that you're trying to reach is I feel like it allows you to take a very strong stance. And I talk about this like with some of the audiences that I serve is, you know them so well that if you went out to a restaurant, you could order food for them. Like you can pick the restaurant that they would like and you can order their food. And, it's like you can simply say like, yeah, no, we're not doing sushi. They don't go for that. And then when it comes to your posting, I mean, you can take a really strong stance, almost polarizing, because you don't have to worry about who that might offend. For example, like I do some writing for working moms, and I had a post that I had put up. I think on Instagram that talked about it was like a Monday morning post. It was about the moms who suit up and show up after a weekend of no rest, right? Because no mom rests on a weekend. And I put it
No.
up there, and and I could take that strong stance because I knew exactly who that post was for, and I didn't have to worry, am I going to offend a stay-at-home mom who might be reading this?
Sure.
Do you have any examples of that, of ways that you have been able to take a strong stance with your audience?
Well, I guess I would say my main goal in connecting with Little House fans is to share the love of Jesus. And I know that the typical Little House fan is not offended
Mhm.
by a maybe religious topic or thanking God for something. So for me, because my niche is narrow, and most people that watch Little House on Prairie do not have a problem
Mhm.
with me mentioning God or my many blessings that He's given me or whatever those things are. So I
Mhm.
think in that sense, I can share my real passion because, and I can take a very bold stance because I know that this niche is not going to be offended by it. So I don't know if that answers your question.
That totally, actually, I was hoping you would go there
Mhm.
because I think faith is an area where a lot of entrepreneurs in general, but also authors and speakers are afraid to take a strong stance because,
Mhm.
because when you don't know who's out there, you're like, I don't want to turn anybody off. But to me, like Little House on the, like faith was so central to the
Mhm.
storyline in Little House on the Prairie. And it was, it was central in the books. It wasn't like they made it for the television show. It was central in the books. It was central in the TV show. That it just feels to me that it is very well matched. That that's who you are in real life, and that
Mhm.
you get to own that, right? Like there's not, you don't have to hide that part of yourself because your audience craves that because that fits in with their image and their memory of the show. So
Yes. It's
thank you
so
for bringing that up because I think faith can be tricky for some folks.
Mhm. And I still have to be respectful and I have to make sure that I'm not bringing hell and brimstone, which I don't, but to acknowledge what they acknowledged on the show and to say, you know what, guys, like I live the way they lived. Like I
Mhm.
really do. And I like try to parent the way they parent. And I try to love God the way they did. And so it's like an inspiration to say, like, no, like you can do this, you know? So I mean, I always think you can be bolder than you are,
Mhm.
obviously, right? And so try to every single time I'm especially doing like a Facebook live or something like that, my goal is to like try to slip even just a little thing in so that I'm making sure that this is like not about like you liking me. This is about
Mhm.
like me like trying to give glory to the Lord. So, and that's tricky because you're on social media and you're trying to gain a following, but here I'm like following Jesus. And so it's a very interesting um dynamic of how do you try to get people to like you, but maybe the goal is for people to see maybe just a little glimpse of the faith that I have
Mhm.
through this whole weird social media thing where we're trying to be known. It's kind of tricky, like how do you be known, but make sure
Right.
that the only thing that matters is that God is known. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Right. Well, but I love how confident you are in it. Because I think that's the key too, is you can't have your niche nailed if you're like waffling, like, is this what I should do? Is this not what I should do? You have to really just have that security in it, which is something that you do. And I think that when you have that security, then this brings me to our final point. And I don't know if you have anything to share on this, but it eases the sting of criticism. And so when I'm thinking of the sting of criticism, I'm going back to that working mom post I posted, because of course somebody posted, I don't like suits and all moms are superheroes or whatever. And which is not untrue, totally right. But like, I didn't have to take a moment to be offended or have my feelings hurt or wonder who I offended, because I was like, oh, that person posting isn't part of my target market. And when I work with other authors and we're like going through book reviews, there was a book review that I was reading, and so one of the authors I work with writes about clutter. And the book review was like, I don't understand what Jesus has to do with clutter. There's like way too much Jesus in this book. And I could have done without that. And I'm like reading that and I'm going, okay, well, first of all, you don't know who Harvest House is as a publisher. You're not the
Right?
target market. I mean, like, I'm so glad you got the book and I'm glad that you benefited from the clutter tips, because that's awesome. But if you don't understand what how Jesus and God, interact with clutter or that problem of clutter, then you weren't the target reader for this book.
Right. Right.
And so it makes those 1-star reviews just feel a little less stingy.
Right. Um, yeah, that's true. It's funny. My book's not out yet, so I can't say I've gotten any reviews.
Mm-hmm.
That might be different. And on social media, like I've never gotten a weird comment that says something negative, but that's because you're not going to hang out with me on Facebook Live if you don't want to be with me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
Well,
I haven't really,
exactly.
right. Yeah. So it's interesting though. I did a blog post, oh, I don't know, it was a couple weeks, a month ago maybe. And it was about a bad review. And it wasn't for Little House or my book or anything. It was actually for like my day job. I I got a bad review on Yelp.
Wow.
And it was like really harsh. And then I realized it was really, really harsh. And then I realized I have an upholstery business and I must have not done a very good job on this lady's stuff. Anyway, it happens. Whatever. It's my day job. And I was sitting there going, you know what? I could care less about somebody's furniture and if it has a wrinkle in it. Really? Like in the grand scheme of things, that does not define me. And
Mm-hmm.
but then it made me think, like when I have like a book review, and I mean everybody gets a bad book review, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
mean,
No,
everyone's
yeah.
gonna, and I'm thinking about it, thinking, man, this like really affected me. And this is something I don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, man, get a bad book review. And this is about like stories that I've poured my heart into about Little House and about how like God has worked through different stories. I thought, dude, I'm gonna be a mess.
So I'm
I'm
going
gonna
to
be a
give
mess.
you,
I've
yeah, let me
I'm
give
gonna
you a little
handle that.
advice. I'm going to give you a little advice on that, from the authors and speakers I work with. You don't read your reviews.
I heard
Like, don't
that.
do that. You have somebody else read them who both loves you, but also has excellent judgment and understands that just because it's there doesn't mean you need to know about it.
Sure. Like
And yeah,
protects you all.
exactly. You need a protector, and you have them read them and like even just categorize them and give you just the general concepts of things that you need to know. Like, because let's just say somebody says, like I just can't relate, and they offer some specific examples, and then you find like your book's not selling well, then it might be beneficial to know, what, there were a few people who reviewed the book who couldn't relate to this part. Here's great information. Hindsight's 2020. It's not like you can go back and redo the book anyway.
It's already print, so what can you do?
Yeah,
Nothing.
I mean, like, so all you can do is use that to like just inform your expectations of your book's performance. And
Right.
we even do that with manuscript development teams. We'll put the book out to like beta readers, but I am positive that we would have probably 3 times the number of books on the market if there was somebody in place who protected an author from their beta readers, because I think some authors are just so devastated at beta reader feedback. And so, like with a manuscript development team, you've got this buffer, and they just have all the feedback done via survey, and they present it as disaggregated data. And you're just like, here you go. And then the author can just say, oh, okay, so this is what worked, this is what didn't, this is what needs to be shorter,
Right.
this is what needs to be longer. And it impersonalizes it. But since you mentioned your book, let's talk about that, because I think, the benefits of nailing your niche really are simply that it allows you to invest the energy in the right places. It allows you to take a strong stance. It eases the sting of criticism. And
Mm.
you know this better than anybody else I know, because you are Wendy Lou Lee, who is Baby Grace in real life. I love that your website says that. So if I go to your website right now, it mentions your book. So tell us about this book you have coming out next year and sort of what your goal is for it.
Okay, well, this is a prairie devotional. It is a devotional. It's very different. I That's the that I really like. I'm so excited about it because it's a very different kind of devotional. It's definitely for the Little House fan. I mean, somebody who doesn't like Little House could probably still like it, but this is for the hardcore Little House fan. So I am not trying to reach everyone. Um, every single devotional is based on a quote from an actual episode.
Wow.
So there, so I actually had to watch all the episodes and collect the quote, and then I had to develop a story around that. Most of them, there's a lot of Little House memories that are connected with quotes, which they wanted as many of those as possible because you've got hardcore fans that want the inside stories. So a lot of them have that. And some of them are just stories from my life, stories about me being a daughter, a sister, a mom, a friend, um, really hard stories in my life that go with a really hard quote where,
Mhm.
this that Little House on the Prairie portrayed was a life of joys and sorrows. And my life has been a life of joys and sorrows. And so I really relate with the Ingalls and what they went through. And so I basically try to bring my audience in to say we all have really amazing things that happen to us. And then we also have really, really hard things. And how does Jesus come in and walk us through this really hard thing? And how do we celebrate when things are really well? And so it's very personal. My story is really, really personal. I honestly feel like someone who reads this devotional will know me in some senses better than some of my best friends. It's a very, very, very deep look into things I've been through and how I think and how I try to do my best to give God glory, even when things are really hard. So I don't know. That's it.
I love it though. I mean, so again, right? Like you're owning the fact that there is this very specific, because I keep saying small, but as you said, that's not really the truth. It's big. It's big in numbers, right? But it's a very specific audience.
Mhm.
And not only do you show up for this specific audience in real life, because you do real life events, on social media, you have a website, but now you're actually, I mean, you've taken the time and the investment. You watched all the episodes, found a really like iconic quote from them, crafted a story around them, and now you're giving this very specific audience the gift of really their very favorite show, like a little bite of it every single day. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think that's
Yeah.
huge. And I just
It's
think
really
like,
cool.
well, and
So
it's
excited about it.
I'm
I'm so
glad.
excited.
But I think
That's so
that's
cool.
where I'm going, hey, you know what? Nobody serves an audience like I personally don't work with anybody who serves an audience like with that level of specificity and that level of passion. And so I love that. I'm so grateful that you made the time to join us tonight so that other people could see that, because I think there's a lot of people out there that want to have the passion you have for their audience, but they're so afraid of who they might alienate. And so I think you're a
Mm-hmm.
great example that it's not about alienation. It's just about building that very wonderful, cohesive tribe. So, Wendy Lou, is there anything you want to add before we close off tonight?
I think the one thing that I would say is when you have a group of people that you want to serve, it's not as hard as you think. But you have to be willing to go for it. And really, if someone does like you or unfollows you or something, who cares? Just be bold. And if you have a message that God has given you, you have a group of people that He's called you to, like you're the one to speak to them. So just go do it with all that you have and just like love it. And like I was doing Facebook Live a couple weeks ago and I was like almost crying thinking like I love these people. Like they're my friends. Like when they show up, I know their names. Like I don't know what they all look like, but like I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so and so, and there's so and so, and there's so and so, and I'm like, I know you guys. Like I feel like you know me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like just amazing. Like that social media could do that, where authors could never do that before,
No,
right?
you didn't have
But we
that
have this
direct connection.
we have this incredible opportunity. So I just say, find who it is that you want to speak to, you want to write to, or sell to, or whatever
Right.
your thing is, and just confidently know that God has put you in that spot to do it. So just do it.
Well, I could not have said it better myself. And I just want to point out that Mary McCarthy says she can't wait to read it. So
Oh,
we've got you one at least 4-star review, I would say there. But Wendy Lou, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I so appreciate you. I know that people who are watching this are going to take away so much from what you shared. So thank you again. And I'm going to wish everybody a good night. Um, just enjoy yourself and good luck with that book launch.
yes, thank you so much.